Morning. Good morning, Hashem. Morning, good morning. Good Baruch Hashem. On the bottom of Chafam at base 20b on the bottom. It's interesting that we're on a tangent and now we're going even on a tangent of a tangent. We've been on Kesuvos, but that came in a case where Rabbi Yeshua was arguing in the previous parak, and even though Gamliel, a few cases said that the woman is believed. A question about how did she become a bula and when and how. And Rabbi Yeshua argued at the beginning of this parak said, but he agrees about a pesha asar. So we're on the sugya of pesha asar, and that's what's going to happen. The rest of the parak also is going to continue with a pesha asar. But once one of the cases of pesha asar was about confirming a signature, that they confirmed the signature, but they say, but the shah is invalid anyway. So we get a bonus over here of sugyas about confirming the signatures, and it's not even a pesha asar. So today is really like a cruise on a cruise, on a side point of a side point. So here we go into the halachas about confirming one's signatures. The first case is simple. The second case is going to be machlokas. Some say zeh ksav yodi, zeh ksav yodo shel chaveri. The zaom is zeh ksav yodi, zeh ksav yodo shel chaveri. Two of them come, the ones who are signed on the contract, and each one knows his own signature and also his friend's signature. And each one is saying two testimonies. This is mine and this is my friend's. So then you have on each signature you have two verifications. So that's good. And even if we'll see right away that even if those that hold that a person's own verification is not enough, you have to have two. So you have two. Each person is not less than anybody else. So if you have both Adam testifying on both signatures, so that's good. But how about if each one only testifies on his own signature? Each one only testifies on his own signature. He doesn't know the other signature. So is that good enough? So that's the machlokes. Rebbe says it's not good enough. You have to get another aid. Each one has to have two signatures, and therefore the one that only each one only says this is my signature, but he doesn't know about his colleague's signature. So then he has to get another aid. But you don't need. The fact that he has verification, that's enough. He doesn't have to have more. You don't have to have two. It's enough to have one. One means one himself, a person himself. If you have aid, that's an outside aid, you have to have two aid. But a person on his own signature is enough to say that this is my signature. You don't need more than that. If you have an outside witness that's saying that this is his Reuben's signature, it's not if you have to have two aid. But this is good because he's saying this is my signature. Usually,
are you saying the Chachamim now?
Right. I said the Chachamim say that you don't have to have anybody else to combine with them, connect with them, because each person is enough to say this is mine. That's good enough. So
and that's going to imply that it's going on the star or something. Is that what that means?
That's the Gemara. The Mishnah wouldn't have known that. They would have thought that it's good enough to verify your own signature. But the Gemara is going to say what you said. That's going to be the Gemara.
That's the Gemara. Okay.
So the Gemara starts. Keshetim Salomar. If you analyze, so you'll come to the conclusion that the Pshat in Rebbe, the Divrei Rebbe, who says that you have to have two signatures, two confirmations. It isn't enough a person's own confirmation on his own signature. You have to have somebody else also connecting with him. When a person testifies, this is my signature, in essence, all he's saying is this is my signature. He's not talking about the essence of the testimony, whatever it says in the shtar. He's just saying this is my signature. Even though he happens to be the aide who says, let's say there was a loan, whatever it says in the shtar, we don't look at it as if he's coming now to testify that what I said in the testimony was true and I know that there's a loan. He's just coming to say, confirming his signature. So like anything, you have to have two aidim, and you only have one aid. If each person only says this is my signature, so you only have one witness, that's not good enough. He's not better than one witness. So you have to have two witnesses. He has to get either his friend to know about it also, or you have to get an outsider. You have to have two witnesses on each signature. But the reason why the Rabbanan say that it's enough to testify on yourself, on your own signature, is because you're not looking at it as just testifying on your signature. You're testifying on the context of the shtar. When you say this is my signature, in essence, you're saying that I testified on whatever it says. There was a loan. I'm testifying on the loan. So each person, even if is just one person, one aid, but you have both aidim are testifying on their own signatures. So you have two aidim testifying on the loan. If you talk about the signatures, then you only have one aid testifying on each signature. But if we say that in essence they're testifying on the context of the shtar, so that's what they're saying. Both of them are saying that there was a loan, and that's why one is good enough. And that's how the Gemara is going to go. That's the Pshat Rabbanan. The place is written over here on the side. He says it doesn't mean that even if they say they don't remember the shtar, they don't remember the loan. I just remember I don't know anything. I don't remember the whole thing. This was 10 years ago. I don't remember. I just know this is my signature. But we translate it to mean that this is the essence of their testimony. Right, but it usually it's not good enough. Usually, if he just does a note and he remembers a testimony that he wrote down we had yesterday, that's not good enough. But here, that when it's signed on a star, so then even if they don't say I don't know my signature, I don't remember the story. That's is in essence is saying that I'm testifying on whatever happened at the time, and therefore the person alone, each one says this is my signature, as if he's saying that there was a loan, and you have two of them saying on the loan. That's why it's good enough. The more Kasha Pshita, the more it takes this for sure is the pshat. That one of the reasons why I hold that the person can testify on his own signature, that's all you need, is because he's testifying on the loan. Pshita goes without saying. The Gemara says there is a chiddush over here. You might think that Rebbe, it's true, and the Rabbanan, that's for sure of shot. The Rabbanan say that the one is good enough, each one is good enough on his own Savyad. Surely the reason is because one Hashem B'Shtar Midim, they come to testify on the whatever it says in the shtar. But the chiddush is Rebbe. Rebbe is the one who says that you have to have two Eidim, that a person alone is not enough to testify in his own signature. You have to have somebody else together with him. And we said the reason is because he's only testifying on his signature and you only have one testimony.
Remember what happened.
It doesn't make a difference. When he comes to testify on the contract, he's coming to testify on his signature.
His own signature.
He's only coming to say on the signature. He's not coming to talk about the shtar. He's coming to the context of the shtar. He's just coming to say what a signature is. So therefore, one aid himself says, "This is my signature." It's not enough. You have to have two aidim. So that thing wasn't saying is a chiddush. You might think that it's only coming to be machmir. Rebbe's coming to say you have to have two aidim because he's not sure that this two studim is he testifying on a signature or is he testifying on the loan. That maybe is questionable. So Rebbe's only coming to be machmir. Not that he has a definite opinion. Means he's saying a chumrah in Mishnah that you have to have another aid to come combine with him. What's the not combine with him? What's the word? To come, whatever, additional to him, together with him, you have to have another aid added on to him in order to have two aidim on the signature. That's what he says. But you might think it's only mechumrah, that he's not sure. Maybe Rabbanan are right that he's testifying on the loan, and one will be good, each one will be good enough. The two aidim will testify on their own signature, but he's coming to be machmir. Maybe they're coming to testify on the signatures, and therefore you have to have two. What's the nafkamina? It's only by any way a chumrah, because the Gemara is going to say soon there's a chumrah the other way. And the way the Mishnah talks about Rebbe is the chumrah. He says you have to have two aidim on each signature, and the Rabbanan say one aid on it is one each aid is good enough on his own signature. But the Gemara is going to say that there's a nafkamina where the Rabbanan are going to be machmir. What's the case? We could jump a little bit.
Rebbe, excuse me, Rebbe, can you turn your camera on, please?
Oh, thank you. I didn't realize that. Thank you. Thank you for reminding me.
Thank you.
Okay. So the Gemara is going to say soon a reason that Rebbe, that maybe in some cases Rebbe are not machmir. It comes out in Nafkamina, that's going to be a chumrah the other way. And therefore, all the Gemara wants to say is that Rebbe has a definite opinion, and when he's machmir, and the opposite case is going to be a kulagam, he's going to be happy to be makel also. Don't think Rebbe is only machmir and misafik, and therefore he's going to be machmir in both cases. Just to jump a second, we can read it inside, but the Gemara is going to get to it, say openly soon. This is the statement of Rabbi Marav that's going to come out soon in Rabbanan. It's highlighted in green. We'll read straight, but that's what the Gemara is going to say now. Nafkamina, it might be nafkamina in Rebbe if he has a definite opinion or it's only being machmir. When Rebbe says that you have to have two testimonies on each signature, and the reason is because they're testifying on the signature, they're not testifying on the loan. What would be like this case? If one of the Adam died, and he's not around to say this is my signature, so you want to get two signatures, you have to have two Adam on the signature. Is it good enough for his fellow witness, the fellow aid, to also testify on his Reuben and Shimon that are signed on the shtar? Reuben died. Shimon is saying this is my signature. Reuben is not here to say this is my signature. So you have to get two Eidim. If you get two Eidim from outside, surely it's good. Two Eidim come and say this is Reuben's signature, and Shimon says this is my signature. That's good. But what if you only have one person from one outsider that says this is Reuben, and Reuben died, but Shimon is going to say that I know this is Reuben's signature. To say that it's for one aid to say the other one aid that's a signature, he's not better than any aid. He's not better than an aid. But what comes out that you have on Shimon's signature, he's saying this is my signature, and that's good enough. Is that good enough?
Yeah, that's good enough.
No, so let's see. We'll see. Okay, well that's gonna be the machlokas over here. We'll get to it. And on Reuben's signature, you don't have Reuben around, but Shimon, and also another aide are going to testify. So you say that is good. And that's not so simple. According to Rabbanan, it's not good. We pass that it's not good. And the was going to say, well, let's just jump a second to what it says over here. I'm of them around in the green highlight. Two people signed on the star, and one of them died. You have to get two outsiders to testify on the signature of the one that died. And the other aid is not acceptable. Why is that? Because Rabbanan say that the reason when you testify on a signature, in essence, you're testifying on the loan. Right? So it comes out over here. Let's say what the Gemara is going to say, that Shimon, who testifies, this is my signature, he's really saying that the loan happened. He's not testifying on his own signature. He's saying that the loan happened. So you have one aid on the loan. And the other one, Ruvain, who died, so you have two aidim that are testifying that it's a signature. Over there, not testifying on the loan. They don't know the loan. Ruvain is not here. And two people are testifying that this is his signature. So Shimon, when he says this is Ruvain's signature, he's helping to verify the Ruvain signature, and then you have an outside also that's going to verify the signature. How much of the testimony that's going to accomplish to be able to testify on the loan, how much did Shimon accomplish? Means with Shimon's own testimony, he didn't mean to say this is my signature. He meant to say that the loan happened. So he's taking already what the Muslim would call it, like half the acres is from him. And usually if Ruben would be here, he would testify on the other half of the loan. Two Adam that say there was a loan, each one is doing half a job. Here, Shimon is doing 3/4 of the job. Because
you could say that Shimon was doing a 25% on his name, on his signature, and 25% on the loan. So altogether, that's 50%.
I'm not sure what you said, but I'll say it again, or let's try to say it. When Shimon testifies on his signature, in essence, he's not testifying on his signature. The Rabbanan. Let's go on the Rabbanan. The Rabbanan say that we're not talking about the signatures. When a person says this is my signature, in essence, he's saying I'm testifying on the loan that it says in the contract. So when he says this is my signature, Shimon did half a job already. Not about a signature. The signature is just a way of talking. He means to say that I'm testifying on the loan. So he's one aid on the loan. Reuben's the other aid on the loan, but he's not here. So you have two aidim that are testifying on the signature. If Shimon is one of the aidim testifying on the signature, so Reuben's testimony is going to be confirmed with the two aidim that are testifying on a signature, and Shimon is one of them. So half of Reuben's testimony is being produced by Shimon. Shimon is helping out for half of Reuben's koach. Reuben's koach is only after his signature is confirmed. Reuben died, and now you have two aidim that are confirming his signature. Shimon is one of them. So that testimony of Shimon, of Reuben, who signed on the contract, is empowered by Shimon and the outsider.
Shimon and another.
Right. So Shimon, and if you look at the whole story, now if you zoom out and you see the whole thing, so Shimon accomplished 3/4 of this testimony.
But they're different tafkidim. Each one's a different.
But the Gemara looks at it. The Gemara looks at it like he's doing more than half a job, and by the Adam, each one only has the koach in order to do half the job, and here he's doing 3/4 of the job, and therefore his testimony is not good.
But according to the Rabbanon, then once this guy dies, Ruben, then these two guys coming and saying that they the signature should be worthless anyway, because they don't know nothing about the contract.
Yeah, that's okay, but yes, sure.
We talk about the contract,
Yes. We're not saying that it's impossible to verify a signature. They also know it's possible to verify a signature. But when a person comes on his own to say this is my signature, he's doing more than just saying it's my signature. It's coming to say that I know the loan. But of course, you can get outsiders to say this is a signature. That's also good enough. We just talked about that according to the Rabbanan. When a person comes to say this is my signature, he's not coming to testify on the signature. He's coming to testify on the loan itself. But when outsiders come, they surely are testifying on the signature, and that's good. And that's good. That's good. You can have such. That's how you confirm a contract. But here, that Shimon, this Reuben and Shimon signed in the contract. Shimon says this is my signature, and this is Reuben's signature, and you have to get an outsider to also help out that this is Reuben's signature. So Shimon accomplished 3/4 of the job. He did this. Yeah.
So Shimon himself, if he comes by himself, is that good enough or not?
No. What is it good enough to say? What does he want? What is he saying?
That it's my signature in the contract.
That's only one. That's only one aid.
So now we're saying that you need two people.
You need another aid for the group. Yeah, that's surely one aid on the contract is not good enough. You have to have two aid on the contract. So Shimon testified that the contract is true, not that this is my signature. It's going to the contract. And now we have to get Reuven also, but Reuven's not here. So we have to get two aidim to testify it's a signature. That's good.
Another person say with Shimon also that it's his signature?
That is Reuben's signature?
No, that's
No, Shimon's signature is okay because he's really saying that loan is true. He's the testifying. We look at him as a testifying.
Shimon by himself is
So
good.
Shimon is good, but Reuben, but he can't help out. Right, he can't help out Ruth to confirm Reuben's signature. You have to get two outsiders to confirm Reuben's signature. That's what the Gemara says in the Rabbanan, and that's the shot in the Rabbanan. That's what Reuben number Rav. You have to have two outsiders. So all the Gemara wants to say now, to back up a little bit, when Rebbe says that they're not testifying on the loan, they're testifying on the signature, and therefore Rebbe says that every time he's testifying a signature, it's not enough to say that this is my signature. You have to have two testifying on the signature. So the question is, if he holds like that for sure, if he's definite about that, so then in the case of here, one of them dies, then Shimon could be one to testify on the friend's signature, because everyone's just testifying on signatures. Shimon's not doing anything more than anybody else is doing. You have to have somebody to help him out. Right. So don't think that Rebbe is going to be machmer both ways. He has a definite opinion. That's what the Gemara says here. The Gemara says pshita, that's the pshat that the Rebbe holds testifying on the signatures, and the Chachamim say testifying on the loan. No, you might have thought Rebbe is only machmer because Mesafik. Not the time of the Rebbe spoken Mesafik. Rebbe is not sure if the testifying on, if the loan this is that they're testifying on their signature or the testifying on the loan. And male and after there would be a difference if it's only a suffix. If one of them died, one of these Adam died, and he's not testifying on his own signature, the boy Shnaim and Ashuk, you'd have to have two outsiders in order to testify. Dim Kane, because if you're going to let Shimon testify on the colleague's signature, Kanafik Naki River, Demamona, Pumadachad, Sada, three quarters. The word that literally means Naki means to deduct. The river is a quarter. Deducting a quarter, which means three quarters, means the whole thing minus a quarter. Another way of saying three quarters, because then if you're going to take Shimon, one of the Edom, to testify on his colleague, so then he's going to be extracting three quarters of the money from one aid, and you can't do that. And if Rebbe would have had a suffix, then he'd be machmir like the Rabbanan also. In each case, it's a chumrah. If there's a question of how many testimonies do you need on his signature, you need two testimonies on his signature. But when one of them died and Shimon is testifying on both, even though there's another aid that's helping him out, maybe the Rabbanan are right. And on the half that Shimon says, this is my signature, it's already half a job done already, testified on the loan. And then when he's going to also help out on the other signature, he's helping the other quarter. It comes out three quarters altogether that he took out. That the Rebbe doesn't have a suffix. He has a definite opinion that when his person testifies, this is my signature, he just means this is my signature. He's not testifying on the loan, he's only doing on the signature. And therefore, even if the colleague died, you get him and another person to testify on both signatures, it is good enough. And now again, more this brings down what the Rabbanan hold, and that's how we pass him. And in this case, in this case, Rebbe would be Mekel and say that you don't have to have two outsiders. Shimon could also be one of the Eidim that's testifying on both signatures and get an outsider that testifies on both signatures. It's good because everyone's just testifying on the signatures. But the Rabbanan say that Shimon is testifying on his own signature, he's testifying on half of the loan, and when he testifies on his friend's signature, he's testifying on the signature. So three, and you have another aid that's going to take that out, help him out. That's going to be three quarters of the loan taken out by one person. You can't do that. So as far as the halacha, we pass like the Rabbanan, when the Eidim testify on their own signature, in essence, they're testifying on the loan, and therefore it's enough. It's enough that a person, you don't have to have two Eidim on each one. Each person can say, this is my signature, but it comes out also a chumrah that if one of them is not here, he died or he's not around to confirm his signature, then it's not enough to him to say, this is my signature, and that's my friend's signature with another aid. You have to get two outsiders. What if you don't have two outsiders? You don't have two outsiders on the other signature, and you need Shimon. You need Shimon to testify to Reuben's signature, and you can't because he's going to be doing a three-quarter job. What do you do? So Gemara says it's a cute thing. Amar Abaye, lichtav chsimus yadei achaspa, v'shadi lei bebeidina, v'machsiki lei beidina, v'lo sarchi l'asudi achsimus yadei, v'azali v'hai u'masar ha'idach. He has another way how we could. What's the whole problem? That he's confirming his own signature. He's really saying half the loan. And we can't have him do that because once he does that, then he can't help out on the other signature. So we get him to avoid having to testify on his own signature. How does he do that? Go ahead. If he has to wait him on his own signature, it's also good. But even if he doesn't have that, he can write a signature on a piece of, here it says a chaspa. Chaspa means a shard, a piece of earthenware. We'll see soon in a second why earthenware. But the point is that he should write his name and now put in, deposit it into Bezdin, B'shadilei B'beidina, give to Bezdin that his signature, and now Bezdin could verify his signature because they saw that he signed his name, so they don't need him. Bezdin could be ma'asher, they could authorize that signature. So now we don't need him to testify on his own signature. Bezdin knows it already, and now we can go to be a regular aid for the friend. The problem is that if he testifies on his own signature, he can't testify on the friend's signature. So he has a way how to get Bezdin to know his signature without testifying. He just signs his name. Bezdin sees he signs his name. Now we know that that's his signature. So then we say goodbye. We don't need you. We know your signature already. He doesn't have to say this is my signature, which would in essence be he's testifying on the loan. So we don't want that. You just want to know his signature. So he signs his name, and I don't know, what do they call it today? Verification card, whatever. They get it. They get his signature, and now we know his signature. Goodbye. And now we just need his verification on the friend's signature, on the other 8 signature. So please step up and testify together with somebody else on the friend's signature. That's fine. He's not taking out 3/4. He's only taking out. That's good. And he and somebody else who's available to testify on the friend, they can testify. Good.
Don't we need a Shashakaral of Aaron to be?
So very nice. I had the problem also. So my chavrusa said that that's only when you don't know for sure that it's his signature. So then you have to get a good start to know that it's really his signature. But if you have him, he's here, like he's here himself, and he signs his name, so there's no question that it's his signature. Over there, it's only a question to make sure that it's his signature. If you have a contract with Yosef and Shimon, you don't know. He's not here to say to show us a signature. That's only a way to make sure that this is really his signature. But if he's here, he signs his name in front of you. So you see that it's his signature. So here, you don't need a special star shakaral of Eru. Does it make sense? Is that good?
Yeah, thank you very much. Very good.
That's from Pinchas. And then the Gemara has a side point, a couple of lines that when you sign your name just for verification. So the Gemara is going to say, making sure you do it in a way that no one's going to be able to fill in above your signature that you owe somebody $1 million. Don't sign your name on a piece of paper. They say a story. Chaim Kanievsky, that after he had, he had some, I don't know what he had. He had some kind of sickness, and they wanted to test him if his mind is back to him. So the usual thing they do, what does a person usually do, is the easiest thing he knows is to sign his name. So they asked him to sign his name. So he said, no, I can't sign my name. Then why can't you sign your name? The Gemara said not to sign your name. And this Gemara right here, it says, the Dafka Achaspa, when he wants to sign his name just for verification, they'll do it on a piece of earthenware. Don't do it on a piece of cloth, on a piece of paper. Maybe a bad person is going to find it. Because might the bike right on top of the signature, whatever he wants to. You owe me $1 million, and then he's going to be able to collect with it. If someone has an IOU note, you're allowed to, it's verified. He could collect from the person's property. He can't collect from Mishubadim. He can't collect from some lien. It's not enough to make a lien, but it is enough to be able to collect. It means you have a signature. It says you owe me money. So yeah, that's enough to collect with. So this is a side point. Don't sign your name if somebody, in a way that somebody will be able to fill in something on top of it and make a forged document, a true signature with a forged document. So when you want to write your name just for verification, make sure you do it in a way that nobody could use it against you.
Rebbe.
Yes, please.
The way I heard the story was that when Rav Kanievsky was asked to sign his name, he signed it Ketuvos Kaf Aleph Amid Aleph. And then that showed that he knew that he still had his mind with him. Quoting this Gemara.
Another way to do it, if somebody has whatever, he has to sign his name, something to make sure that you make some scribble and right on top of the name in a way that nobody could fill in what they want to. Top of the page, things like that. Yeah. Okay. Sometimes people are not with them. They write their name with a lot of space between the document and if there's a line where it says sign on this line, so then I think that you won't be able to mess around with it because you see that it's a document that this is the way you're supposed to sign. Okay. The Gemara continues. We have Malchokes now. This whole sugya, the Mishnah talks about if a person can verify his own signature by himself, we have to have help with another aid. So pass like the Chachamim, that is enough to say this is my signature. You don't need more than that. Each person says this is my signature. That's enough of a verification. And that's a pass like the Rabbanan, not like Rebbe who said you have to have another aid to test the 2 aid on each signature. So the Gemara says Pshita, of course, we know as a regular rule that if you have a minority opinion against, or an individual opinion against the multitude of people, so you pass like the Rabbin. So of course, it's Chachamim against Rebbe, for sure you pass like the Chachamim. So there is a halacha that you pass like Rebbe against one, but you might think that all even against many, which they put in the gears over here, ubaha. They put in the word ubaha, that in this thing over here, you might have passed like Rebbe even against many. Means that how me think why the Gemara say if you read the Gemara says it means you might even thought that the halacha is like Rebbe even against the Rabbin. There are such people that you pass like them even against the Rabbin. You might have thought Rebbe is also like that. Mashmalan, you don't pass like Rebbe against the Chachamim. The halacha will be like him. If we won against one, Rebbe wins against one.
So that's in all the cases.
That's what it says, right? That you pass like Rebbe against one. You don't pass like Rebbe against the Rabbin. Don't make a mistake. And this thing of the next two dots is really just means to be parentheses. It's a siman of nun ches, nun dalet, ches dalet, which is just the siman to remember the names coming up. But it's really the two dots doesn't. No one meant the two dots over here. The rest meant to make a parentheses to give you a siman of the names coming up. And the Gemara continues. Whoever the gears is going to be, he was saying it to Rav Yehuda. The choice is nun ches, that's Hanania and Chia, and said to Rav Yehuda. Or some say nun dalet, Amilah Rav Huna bar Yehuda. The nun stands for Huna. And Bar Yehuda, that's the Dalet, and he said to Rav Yehuda, or Amilah Rav Chia Bar Yehuda, Rav Yehuda, that's Ches Dalet, Chia, and Yehuda. Wherever it was, choice of three versions, who said to Rav Yehuda? But whoever it was, they said to Rav Yehuda, Umiyah Mashmuel Hachi, means the member said before was Rav Yehuda, Shmuel. So somebody is asking Rav Yehuda, is that true that Shmuel said that? Shmuel said that you only have to have one person to verify his own signature. You don't need two. The Shmuel say that Allah is like the Chachamim. There was a star that came out of the Bezdin of Shmuel. They have a Ksiv Bey. It said the following. Then maybe highlight this what it said. This is what it said in the star. It said in the star all these words. This is what it said in the contract that came out of the Bezdin of Shmuel. It said. But the Asir of Barchia of Asida Chasim Shadei Vadachadi the Ime Umanu Rav Chanan Bar Rabba Umid the Asir Rav Chanan Bar Rabba of Asida Chasim Shadei Vadachad Minei Ime Mani Rav Chanan Barchia Ashanu became Minu Kedachazi. This was a hempik. This is a confirmation of Bezdin. When Adam come to confirm a signature, so Bezdin writes, they write what's called a kiyum, a hempik. That's the seal of approval that Bezdin got. Of affirmation of the signatures, and they write that they make a seal on the star that we have accepted confirmation of the signature. Still, now we spoke about the Eidim that come to confirm it, but now you have to have something written down that the Bezdin accepted the confirmation, and it's a confirmed signature. So this is the confirmation that the Bezdin of Shmuel wrote on a contract that the Eidim were Rav Anan Bar Chia. He was one of them. Rav Anan Bar Chia was one of the Eidim, and the other one was Rav Chanan Bar Rabba. Those were the two Eidim on the star. And it said in the contract that both of them came and testified on both signatures. That's what it said and when they came before us, and each one testified on both signatures. So then we confirmed it and authorized it as is proper. So that's to get the words. When they wrote this is the text that is said in the contract. When Rav Anan Bar Chia testified on his signature and on the signature of his friend that was with him, who was Rav Chanan Bar Rabba, and also Rav Chanan Bar Rabba came and testified on his signature and on his companion, which was Rav Anan Bar Chia. So we confirmed and authorized the contract. So that's the kasha. If Shmuel holds like Rav Anan, then you don't have to have that each one testified on both signatures. Each one testified on his own signature. That's what the Rav Anan say. We'll go back to the Mishnah. In the first case, the Mishnah was each one said, "This is my signature and my friends." Everyone holds that that's good. Push it. Everybody holds that that's good. But if each one testifies on his own signature, Rebbe holds it's not good. The Chacham hold that it is good. So if they held like the Chachamim, they shouldn't have been so elaborate to say each one testified on both. That's only Rebbe has to have that. But according to Rabbanan, it's enough each one testified on his own signature. So why did Shmuel go to the trouble to write in the confirmation that both of them testified on both? It sounds like he was like Rebbe. Amalei. So Rav Yehuda said, "Ahu shtora the Yasmiha." But that was a contract that concerned orphans. And Shmuel wanted to make sure that the orphans are not going to lose out. The Shmuel was choshesh. Maybe it's going to be a bezdin that's going to pass like Rebbe. Means really the halacha is not like Rebbe, but there might be some bezdin out there that holds like Rebbe, and it's a mistake. They're making a mistake. You pass like the Chachamim again. But that bezdin might make a mistake and think you pass like Rebbe even against the rabbin, and they're going to invalidate the shtar because you only have confirmation each one on his own signature. and they're not going to give the assuming what's coming to them. The Savar Shmuel, Shmuel thought it might be a bezin out there that holds that they usually the lachas like Rebbe only against one, but here that bezin might pass like Rebbe even against many, and therefore they're not going to confirm the shtar because each only has a confirmation of one aid. Savar, say, figure, let me do the revach, means even to do it large to make it better in order that someone shouldn't lose out. And since each one of the aidim did know the signature, did recognize the signature. Could testify his own signature is good enough, and that's the halacha. Nusugya, Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Shmuel, Eid v'dayin v'starfen. The test that the witness and the judge can combine to testify about something. So the Rashi here talks about a case of a shtar, like we're talking about till now, that the aid testifies on a signature or on the context of the shtar, and the dayan is testifying that this is somebody's signature. The dayan just knows that came in front of him, and that he confirmed the signature. And even though each one is testifying on a different point, but they could be mistarev to get the testimony through the issue. The Rambam says a little different, not talking about contracts. It's not that the aid says a testimony, aid comes and says a testimony, and the dayan says that I was a dayan on the bezdin that accepted his testimony. So he's not. So the aid is testifying on the story, whatever, not on the contract, on the story. A regular case of aid, but not a contract. An aid comes and testifies about a story that happened, and he doesn't have his friend over here, but there's a dayan here that says that this testimony took place also in my bezdin, and I was one of the 3 dayanim over there, and I'm testifying that this would happen. So the mice you have two testimonies, but they're not the same testimony. One is saying on the story, and one of them is saying on the testimony in bezdin. One is saying the aid is testifying on the story that happened, and the dayan is testifying that this is what happened in the bezdin, that the aid came and we accepted his testimony. So Shmuel said it's good enough. They could they could both join to have a good aidus, the aid and the dayan. And Rami Barcham was very happy with that. Rami Barcham, wonderful sugya, wonderful Gemara that Shmuel said that the aid and the dayan could join to be a testimony. But Rabbi was not happy about it. Rabbi, what's so good about it? They're not saying the same testimony. You don't have two testimonies on the same thing. What the aid is testifying, the dayan is not. The dayan doesn't know the story. The dayan just knows that they accepted a testimony from the aid. And what the dayan is testifying, the aid is not. You don't have two aidim on the same story. So therefore, Shmuel is wrong. It should be together, but they didn't let me do it all together. But the point is that Rami Bar Yecheskel is the brother of Yehuda, the famous Rabbi Yehuda Shmuel. This Rabbi Yehuda, his father's name was Yecheskel. The regular Rabbi Yehuda that we know, the Tana is Rabbi Yehuda Bar Eloi, the Amora is Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel. We don't hear his father's name too much, but there are a few Gemaras to talk about Rabbi Yehuda's father's name was Yecheskel. And also there's a Rami Bar Yecheskel, which we do find out they're brothers. Rabbi Yehuda Bar Yecheskel and Rabbi Bar Yecheskel are brothers. So Rabbi Bar Yecheskel said, "Don't listen to my brother. My brother made a mistake." But or in the name of Shmuel, Rabbi Bar Yecheskel said, "Don't listen to the kolam that my brother Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel." It means this thing, Eid v'dayin v'starfen, is not true. I don't know if Rabbi Yehuda made a mistake or Shmuel made a mistake, but Rabbi Barchama was happy about this statement of Shmuel. Rabbi was not, and also Rabbi Bar Yecheskel was not. And it seems we don't pass like Shmuel on this. Eid v'dayin is not mitzaref. And the reason is because they're not testifying about the same issue. The Gemara says a similar story, another story. Ikla Rav Noah Yachud Rav Chia Bar Abba Lemizban Shum Shemi. Amar Hachiyam Shmuel Eid v'dayin mitzaref. And it gives it a background. I don't know why we need the background over here, but somebody's name was Rav Noah, the brother of Rav Chia Bar Abba. He came to buy the Mizban. I think it means to buy, either buy or sell. I think it means to buy. He came to buy sesame seeds. I guess I don't know. It doesn't say why he has that whole story, why he came for. He's doing business. He's buying sesame seeds. I don't know why, but it seems that he came. I don't know where he came from, but he came. It seems that he came. He knew what Shmuel said. I'm not sure, but he came and he said the same thing we said till now. Before Avidah Shmuel said it here, he said also in the name of Shmuel, Eid v'dayin v'starfen, that the witness and the judge could join to say testimony. Same as Shmuel said before. So he's also quoting Shmuel. And Amema was very happy with that. Amar Amema Kama Malya Ashmaita, wonderful. But that was like Rabbi Bechama said before, that is wonderful. Because your grandfather praised it, you also praising it. It means that the grandfather of Amema happens to be Rami Bachama. We don't know that from other, I don't know, maybe in the other places it sounds like we find it out. But here we had Rami Bachama is the one who praised the Memra. Rabbi said it's not true, and we disagreed with it. Amemar is a grandson of Rami Bachama, he also praised it. And Ravashi said, like, you're going the footsteps of your grandfather, but we don't pass like that. Even though your grandfather praised it, and that's why you're also praising it, but Rabbi already disproved that they don't pass like Shmuel, and the Eid and the Dain and Amastar, because each one is testifying on a different issue. The Eid is testifying on the story that happened, and the Dain is testifying on the testimony. He's testifying that there was such a testimony. So it's not the same thing, so they're not mistaken. The Gemara continues. Amar Rav, more halachas about Kiyum Shtaris, to confirm the confirmation on the signatures. Amar Rav Safra, Amar Rabbi Abba, Amar Rav Yisrael Bar Shmuel Bar Masa, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. So it goes Rav Safra in the name of Rav Abba, in the name of Rav Yisrael Bar Shmuel Bar Masa, in the name of Rav Huna, and maybe that also goes in the name of Rav also. What was the member that they said? Shlosha sheyashvu l'kaim esashtar, shnayim akiyun chasim b'sidei edim, v'echad eino makir. There are three dayanim that are sitting to confirm the shtar. What do you usually do? That you have dayanim, and two edim come and they confirm the signatures, and then the dayan writes an authorization, a seal that this shtar has been confirmed. But here, the case was that two of the dayanim themselves, they recognize the signatures. They don't need it outside testimony. They themselves know the testimony, know their signatures. And the third dayan does not recognize it. So the question is, could the two of the three dayanim testify before the third dayan? And then they can become a bezdin. There's no other dayanim around, and there are two edim here. No other edim, no other dayanim. So two out of the three dayanim, they know the signature, so they could sign. But the third one doesn't. If all three of them would know the signature, they could write that we, the bezdin, know the signature. But you don't have that because only two of them know it, and the third doesn't. So the two has to testify before the third. So it says before they sign, before the two dayanim that know the signature, before they sign that we know it, they can testify before the third one, and then all of them could sign. But once they sign, before they testify, then they can't testify anymore to the dayan. Why is that? Rashi says the reason why they can't is because the chasim kamaisa v'shikra hava the lav tlasa havu diyadi. When they started signing it, they said that we were a bezdin. How do they make an authorization? They don't write as Edim. They write in the seal, the hempik, they write that we, the bezdin, know the signature and we testify, we authorize it. But when they wrote that, it was a sheker because there weren't three that knew, only two of them knew. So they can't anymore testify because it was too late that it was written b'sheker. The Gemara before the Gemara.
If it wasn't done like that,
if it was done well, so that says that you wait on first they testify to the third dayan and then they can write it. Here the Gemara has a point that takes about 5 lines that the Gemara is going to say that not only the signature but even the writing is also not allowed to be done until it's true. You can't write a false statement even if you didn't sign it yet. That's a chiddush, and I think they wrote down that most of the poskim don't pass like this. But here it says that you can't even write something that's not true until it's true, even though you're not going to sign it. You might think, what's the difference? I'm writing whatever I'm writing, it's not signed. But the Gemara says you're not allowed to even write it. And it could be the poskim don't pass like this.
Yesterday, you can't have a plus a contract that will bring you to have to pay something that you don't know. It's absurd to have such a thing in your presence, so surely you can't write it.
No, but this over there talking about there was a signed star, it says signed and everything. Over there you can't make a star mana because it didn't happen and it's not true. And a person has but here's not the case. Here the case is that the bezdin is going to sign an authorization, is going to write an authorization as not been signed. Till it's signed, it's not worth anything. If they don't sign it, it's not worth anything. So what's the problem? You could say it's not a problem. They wrote something which is not true, which usually a lot of times that's how the contracts go nowadays. That the contract is written already, and you fill in the names when it didn't happen. And Machabusa said that right. So that's what then they write it. They write it and they say the kanina. Then they stop the reading of the ksuba and they make a kinyan or the tanoim. That's what they do. They do write it, and then they just don't sign it until after the kinyan.
That's what I do. I've written a couple of Kesuvos. That's how I did it.
So here it says that you shouldn't write something which is sheker.
Well, I said maybe the problem is only if you sign the names.
you not sign names, put in the name. You have the name, you have the names. In our contracts, they'll have the names of the chassan and the kala and this and everything. And it says the kaninim, and we made a kinyan, and the whole thing is this didn't happen yet. And then before you sign it, you make the kinyan. So that's what the Gemara says without the parentheses. Now the Gemara is going to say, don't even write the shtar, even before you sign it. Yeah. If you don't, if you just write the tofes, you just write the form, leaving out all the names of the chassan kala, whatever it is, the buyer, the seller, the lender. So then you didn't do anything. But if you're going to write that Reuben knows Shimon borrowed money from Shimon, and it's not true. So that's what the Gemara says here, and I made parentheses around it because it's a side point, and I wrote it the post don't pass like this. But if you read our Gemara, it says that you're not allowed to even write a contract that's not true until it's true. The only problem is because don't sign it, but you could write it. Papa said the name. Papi said the name of Rava. A shvara said the means the confirmation of the judges. It means the seal of approval that this is an authorized contract. If it was written, even if it was written, the nichtav, if it was written before the Edom spoke about nechva, I think to show the Edom showed that this is their signature. It's possible. It means even though they write, what are they writing? They're writing that this signature has been confirmed. If it was written, even though it wasn't signed yet, it's possible because it's chazik shikra, because it looks like a sheker, because it's written a sheker, even though it wasn't signed yet. So the Gemara is asking, if they're going to do that, they can assign that we, the Bezdin, know the signature, and then they come, and then they testify to the third dime. So they wrote a sheker. They wrote that all three of us know about it, and only two of them know it. So the Gemara edits the statement before, that is, even though it said over here, so the Gemara changed this word. Ashelo chasmu changed ashelo kasvu. And again, and mishachasmu, not mishachasmu, mishachasvu. That they only can do that. You can only write it after they testified, and then they could write it and sign it. But if you can't write it until it's true. So if you have the case of it that had the three people that are sitting as dayanim, and two of them know the signature, the first thing they should do before they write it even is to testify before the third dayan that we know the signature. And now you have a bezin of people that know it. Two of them know it because of their own experience, and one of them knows it because it was testified before him by the other two. And now they can write the shtar, they can write the handpick that we, the bezdin, know that this is the right signature. But you can't write it before you know it to be true. The Gemara wants to derive from this statement of Rav three things. Besides the point about writing that we had in parentheses, but 3 points we can derive from here. One is that it's possible for a witness also to be a judge because he's a witness. He knows the fact himself. He says, I know the signature. He could be a judge for the same issue. He could be an aid and also a dayan. That those who know, if they know it on their own, that's the case here, that 2 of the 3 judges know it on their own, and they don't have to have any aid in testifying before them. They know it. They know it as a fact. They don't have to have people testifying before them. That's good enough. So if you have all 3 aidim, all 3 of them that know the signature, you don't have to have any testimony. They just write that we the best, they know the signatures. That if there are judges that don't know the signatures of the Eidim, so then you have to testify for each one of them. It's not good enough to testify before 1 or 2 of them. You have to testify before all 3 Eidim, because here the case was that you had 2 out of 3 Dayanim that knew the signatures, but you still have to testify before the 3rd one. So you see that those who know, and those who don't know have to be testified before them. So we learned out 3 things. One is that it could be an Eid and also a Dayan, like those 2 that were Eidim and also Dayanim. Even though they knew the facts and they're the ones who were the Eidim, they also could be a Dayan. And also those Dayanim who know the signatures, you don't have to testify to them because they know it on their own. And those Dayanim that don't know the signatures, you do have to testify before them, even though some of the other Dayanim do know the signatures. Not good enough. Master Rashi says, yes.
Sorry, the only case where someone sitting on Bezin could be an aid also?
Isn't that what it means? Eid Nasa Dayan, no? Isn't that what it's saying?
No, I'm saying it's the only case.
This is the only case. The Gemara is going to ask the Kasha. We're going to soon show that Eid is not a Dayan, and that's going to be the next thing in the bottom over here, that sometimes we say Ein Eid Nasa Dayan, and the Gemara is going to say only by Kiyam Shtar's Drabanan. It's highlighted in the blue over here. The Gemara is going to say that in only here by Drabanan, that's why we say Eid Nasa Dayan, but other times not. They're coming up soon.
Is this a little bit against the idea that Shimon and Reuben, that Reuben was dead, that Shimon can't act as also a witness on the
No. Over there, it's talking about how much of the money is being extracted with Shimon's testimony. Half he says, I know about the contract, the other one is about the notice. But this is not this. This is no, it's not. Over there is no judge over there. He's an aide, but how much of his aid is over there? 3/4 of aid. This is a judge. This is a case of a judge. The judge, you need a judge also. Besides the testimony, you need the judge that should say a seal of confirmation, seal of approval from the Bezdin. We accepted the testimony that these signatures are good, and they have a seal of approval on the contract. So now it says that the person who's an aide could also be a dine, even though he's the one who brought the information into the third dine. They say, we know the signature, so the third dine accepted their testimony, and now the original also dayan. So it's not a contradiction to be also an aide who dayan, like it says, it could be the same person. So we're going to get to the subject soon, like Ari pointed out, that not always do you say this. But first, Rav Ashi has a problem that I don't see the three. I can't see that you could derive all 3 points. He's the Gemara says Shram in the class. We have 3 things. Eid Nasadayin is number 1, and the second one was that if Dayanim happen to know the signatures, they don't have to be testified to because they know it already. And the third one was that the Dayanim that don't know, even though some of the Dayanim do know, each Dayan has to be testified. If he doesn't, he has to be testified to. He has to be told. I don't know, maybe I'm saying the wrong English over here, but he has to have testimony said before him about signatures, even though other Dayanim know, he has to know also. And if Rashi is going to say, I don't see the proof to number 2 and number 3. The proof to number 1, I do see that Eid Nasadayin, but I don't see the proof to number 2 and number 3. Master Rashi, that I'm asking, that's what you see. He's an Eid, also a Dayan. I'm asking. But I don't see number 2. Dayanim Amakir and Chasim, which they Eid the main Srich and Lord Bifneim, is that you want to derive this also. You derive that those judges who do recognize the signatures, you don't have to have anybody testifying before them. I don't see that. Maybe you have to have at least one testimony. We can't derive here that if you have all three dayan that happen to know the signature, that is good enough. The Gemara did Rav Ashi, who's that? Shramina. I don't know who's that Shramina. The Gemara said that if you have all 3 dayanim that know the signature, that's good enough. They could write an approval, they could write a handpick because we know the signatures. And he says you don't have a raya. Maybe the case is over here that you have to have at least some testimony. Here the case was that you had 2 3. The third one didn't know testimony, so there was some testimony at least. But if all 3 of them are going to know and there's not going to be any testimony, you have no proof that it's good. The Gemara, I see from the letter over here that it seems we do pass like this, even though the Gemara says it wouldn't be a proof. But Rav Ashi is asking, you don't see. Maybe usually you do have to have some kind of testimony. But Shana Yocha, because there is some kind of a testimony, at least by one, because one of them didn't know. So there was a testimony said before him. So you wouldn't be able to prove from this that if all 3 of them know the signatures, that they don't have to have any kind of testimony. And also the number 3, the third thing that you wanted to prove, he said that those dayanim that don't know the signatures, you have to testify to each one. It's not enough to testify to some of them. You have to testify to each one. Maybe that's not true. Maybe you don't have to testify to each one. It's enough to testify to some of them. And then they can be a bezdin and say, we as a bezdin, we know about it. How do we know? Because some of us know the signatures. That's good enough. I made a mistake with this 2 dots over here. But over here, the reason why it's not good, and if it's not going to be said to the third line, is because there was no Haggadah at all. Why do we say that? Maybe if the Dayanim that don't know, it's enough to have a testimony to some of the Dayanim, and it's good enough. You don't have to tell each one. Over here, if you're not going to tell the third one, there was no Haggadah at all. You have to have some kind of Haggadah. But you wouldn't be able to prove from here that if you are testifying to some of the Dayanim, that you have to testify to each one. Maybe not. Maybe you testify to 1 or 2 of the Dayanim, and he represents the Bezdin that he accepted the Eidus, and now they can write as a Bezdin. We're confirming this, even though not each one had a testimony heard before him. So Rashi is contending the proof to number 2 and to number 3. I can't tell from the numbers, but the number B sounds like we do pass like this point, that you don't have to test, that all 3 Dayanim do know the testimony is good enough. The last point, I don't see any numbers here. I didn't look into it. We pass like the last point that you don't have to tell. Do you have to tell each one of the Dayanim? If or it's enough to have some kind of testimony to 1 or 2 of the Dayanim, and then the third one also could sign on it also. The Gemara continues. Yosef Ababa. This is what Ari was asking about Eid Nasadayin. Do you say Eid Nasadayin in all cases? So it starts over here. Yosef Rabbi Abba. He was saying over, he just finished saying that by Kiyum we see Eid Nasa Dayan. And he's saying it's not true. Esfer of Safra, the Rabbi Yava, Rav Safra challenged. It says in Mishnah by Kiddush HaChodesh, Re'u Shlosha Vein Bezdin, that there are three people of the Sanhedrin Agodol, that they're at Bezdin, and they happen to see the new moon. So Yamdu Shnayim v'Yeshivu Mechavrei Meitz Al Yochid v'Yidu B'Fneihem v'Yomu Mekudesh HaChodesh Mekudesh. She'ena Yochid Ne'emen Al Dei Atzmo. What do? Bezdin, they're authorized themselves to be the Bezdin, but usually you have testimony that comes to them. Yeah, they themselves are a testimony. They saw the new moon, and
What do you mean they saw the new moon?
They saw the new
They're
moon.
only receiving, oh, they themselves.
they saw them outside. They saw the new
Oh,
moon.
they happened to see it.
They saw that. So it says that they do have to have testimony, even though they saw themselves. That's gonna be the kasha. You don't see here. You see Ein Eid Nasa Dayan. If you Eid Nasa Dayan, they should just get up and say Mekudesh HaChodesh. We see
But
the.
even testament. Aren't they strong enough to be their own testimony? They saw the moon.
That's called the Eid. And now you have to have a bezdin in order to be Mekadesh HaChodesh. So that's the question called Eid Nasa Dayan. That's the subject.
Oh, so he's saying that. He's saying it's
So he says not gonna. You have to make a bezdin with Eidim. And the Rashi does bring down that the Gemara over there says that if they saw it, then Lo Tei Shmiya Gedola Maria, that seeing is better than hearing. So if they saw it, let them say Mekudesh Mekodesh. Rashi, the Gemara over there says that's the one that they saw it at night. They saw it at night means they have a idea. They can't Mekadesh it right now because it's at night. Like usually, when do you see the moon at night? So they saw it at night, and now the next morning they want to be Mekadesh Chodesh on the idea that they have from yesterday. So they saw it. They're the Eidim, but the Mishnah says that they can't be the Eidim and also the Dayanim. You have to have. So that's what the Gemara's kasha is going to be. If you hold the Eid Nasa Dayan, what's the problem? Just get up and say Mekudesh Chodesh because we saw it yesterday. So you can't do that. You have to get two of these three to be testimony Eidim, and you got to get a bezdin. And if you only have the third one left, so get some other people, get the other chavrei bezdin to come and get three. So you see that the Eidim themselves cannot become dayanim. Three people saw
So
it.
what are they saying? They're saying over here that they need to bring another two people?
Yeah, you need two people to be a bezdin. You need the people that are saw. You could utilize two of them Eidim. You don't need three Eidim. So you have two Eidim, and then you have to have the bezdin. So get either three other ones, or you only have to get two other ones because one of them could be. You have a kasha on that?
No, good. I just didn't come. Thank you.
Because it is true that the one who is going to be the one of the dayanim, he did see it. So he was an aid that wasn't testifying. He was just going to be, he saw it, but that's good enough. But here that he actually acted as a aid, those who acted as an aid cannot be also dayanim. It says that's in the Gemara's teretz, but the Gemara is going to say that Kim Shorish is different. That's what we're going to see the Gemara. So that's the question. Why should it be different? Two of these three dayanim who saw the moon, they should stand up as witnesses, and now you have to have three dayanim. So get another two chavrei bezdin to join the one, and you have altogether three dayanim and two eidim. And then the two dayanim, they testify before the three dayanim. Why? Why can't the Mishnah stands off? Why is it not enough to have one dayan? The one dayan is not enough. They ask for that you can't use one dayan, you have to have three dayanim. But as far as that the eidim cannot also serve as being dayanim also, you see, ein eid nasa dayan. What's the problem? If you hold the 8 could be a dime, what's the whole problem? Letting them sit down and say because they themselves are all Eidim. You see, Ein Eid Nasa Daim. Amalei, Afle Didi Kashali, who's talking to who? This Rabba asked Rav Safra. Rav Safra asked Rabba. So Rabba answered, I had the same kasha. Afle Didi Kashali, Beshel Taylor Rav Yitzchak Bashmur Bar Masa, Rav Yitzchak asked Rabuna, Rabuna asked Rafia Bar Rav, Rav asked Rav, and Abamalahu. And you're right. Over there, that the Eid is Chodesh is Daraisa, so then ain't Eid Nasadain. Only over here with Kim Shtosh is Rabbanan, that's why we rely on Eid Nasadain. Otherwise, when it's the Raisa Eidus, it says here probably means not only Eid is Chodesh, any kind of Eidus, which is Daraisa, so then you have to ain't Eid Nasadain. But if it would be Kim Shtosh, which is only Rabbanan, it seems that with the Raisa you could rely that Eid Machsumim al Ashtar is good enough. But the fact that you have to verify it is only with Rabbanan. And for that, we rely on Eid Nasa Dayan. So that's what comes out. That by Rabbanan, kind of Eid, so then Eid Nasa Dayan. But if it's the Raisa, then Ein Eid Nasa Dayan. The Gemara continues. 3 lines from the bottom. More about Kiyum Shtaros. Amar Rabbi Yabba, Amar Rav Huna, Amar Rav. Shlosha Shesh V'Lakayim V'Sashtar. V'Kar Iri V'Alechem Mehem. There were 3 people that sat down to become Dayanim to make this authorization on the star that the signatures are confirmed. But then it became an era, some kind of a challenge on one of the dayanim that is not a kosher dayan, on the dayan himself. This we didn't have such a case. That there's an era on the dayan. That who are you to be a dayan? You're a ganav. You know, you can't be a kosher. So now the other two dayanim, they know that he's kosher. So they want to testify that is a kosher dayan. Could the dayanim testify for their colleague that he's kosher? So it says before they sign, they could testify that he's a kosher dayan and he could sign. But once they sign, they're not kosher. They're going to give it over already. Because Rashi says on the bottom over here, that's going to give Ve'edus, Sheganai Lahem, Shiashu Impossible within. Once they sign, there's a bezdin, and then it comes out of you. One of them is a apostle. It's a degradation to them also. That you're sitting. But that would be but what's the point? That there will be a degradation for them, that they were a bezdin that had one of the bezdin was a apostle Ganav.
Right.
So therefore, they're not
the whole
the whole bezdin.
One of the bezdin had a cell phone. They had a cell phone.
So here it says that once they sign, so then they're not any more kosher to testify on their colleague that he's kosher, because it's a ganai for them. Rashi says, what does it speak it up? Rashi says that's the reason. That's Negeh Ve'edus, because it's a ganai that they were together with somebody who's a apostle, someone who's a ganav. So the Gemara wants to know what's the case over here. What was the error? I said a ganav. The Gemara was going to ask, is that true? Error demai. What kind of a challenge came with? What kind of I guess challenge, or maybe a better word, error? Anybody has a kind of translation? What is error? What's the case over here? Yeah, error the gazlanus. If someone says that he's a ganav, so train. So then it wouldn't help that there wasn't even help that they're going to testify. So let's say they are kosher. There are two Eidim that testify, the bezdin of three, two of them testify that the third one is kosher. But two of them, two outsiders say that he's not kosher. So it's 2 against 2. So that's not good. 2 against 2. So they don't know that it's a kosher raid. It's not kosher dayan. So it doesn't help to have two Eidim that say that he's good, because it's 2 against 2. And
maybe 2 of them are questionable?
No.
Why is 2 against 2?
The case was that you had 3 dayanim sitting,
Right.
and one of them was charged with Ganeva by 2 Eidim.
Okay.
Who came to say that he's a ganav? 2 Eidim came to say that he's a ganav.
Oh.
And now these 2 other dayanim are going to say it's not a ganav. So it's 2 against 2. So he's still not kosher to be a dayan. If it's something about his yichus, so then they should be believed, and it's not the ganai wouldn't be a problem. The fact that the ganai some nogeh b'davar, that we're not kosher for something which is easy to verify. We can find out if that's not something that if it's a question he stole or not stole. So we don't know. But there's something you're talking about. Rashi says he's an eved or some kind of psul mishpacha that is not kosher to be. That we can find out. There's something that we can verify. So then the negeh b'davar is not going to passel the other dayanim from being able to testify, because there's something you can't lie about. So it's a kilo what's
Testify at all? Is that that's the side, right?
What is that?
We wouldn't need the 2 other Eidim to say anything because we could check it.
I don't think so. I think that they would be believed. Rashi says,
They wouldn't need to testify. In the first case, it's 2 against 2.
Yes, but the second case, Rashi doesn't say you don't need to testify. There's 2 Eidim that came and said that he's apostle, but these people should be able to testify against them. It doesn't say you don't need Eidim. Rashi says, why may they not? What's the problem about being Nogeya? That's not called. It's not called an evidence, but they do have to say something. They're coming to say something. They're coming to say it's not true. You're saying that he's an evidence, he's not an evidence, and they're going to have to show what they said is true. So it's not their test. You're not relying on their testimony. So the negay b'davar doesn't make a difference. Maybe that's the way you're saying it. That they don't. It isn't their testimony that's doing it. They do have to testify, but it isn't their testimony they're relying on. We're going to rely on whatever proof they're going to bring forth. So therefore, the Gemara is asking
facts.
On the facts that is the apostle or not. So therefore, the Gemara says, what's the case? That's the case that we're choshed that they're nogeh b'davar, but if they're not nogeh b'davar, then we do use that testimony. What's the case? The Gemara says, the case is the first case, not the pegam mishpacha. The case is about that he's a ganav, and the question was, it's 2 against 2. The kamri hani yadina b'davar tshuva. Not that they're clashing with the first Eidim, that the Eidim came and say he's a ganav, and they say no, he's not a ganav. That would be 2 against 2, and they wouldn't be kosher. The case is they say we must know he was a ganav, but he did tshuva. That's okay. They're not contradicting the first Eidim. If the 2 Eidim say he's a ganav, the other Eidim say you're right, he's a ganav. but he did tshuva since, so he's kosher to be a dayan. So then it wouldn't be a clash. It wouldn't be 2 against 2 because they're not contending the issue that the first Adam said. He said he stole, it's true he stole, but he gave it back and he did tshuva. New Gemara. Amar Rabbi Zera, Hamilsa, Rabbi Abba Shmieli, Rabbi Abba de Menaku Shakachta. The following thing I heard from Rabbi Abba, but if not that Rabbi Abba from Aku said something, I would not have remembered it. I would have forgotten it. What did he say? Three people that sat down to verify a star, a seal, to seal the star that we've received confirmation of the witnesses' signatures and it's good, but one of them died. Before that had a chance to write the authorization, means they did receive the edus and it was a good, the Bezdin was a good Bezdin and they received the testimony that it was a good signatures, they're ready to write down the seal, and one of them died. So what should they write? Should they write that we're a Bezdin of 3? Well, not a Bezdin of 3, one of them died already. They should write we're a Bezdin of 2. A Bezdin of 2 is not good enough. You have to have Bezdin of 3. So they have to write the following words. The most of Klasa, you have to write that we were 3 and one is not here. One of them died. So he writes, we were 3. So they're going to be 2 out of 3, but 2 out of the 3, the 2 remaining Dayanim that's still living, they'll say that we were 3 and one of us died. So they're authorized to write such a thing. They're 2 Adim, they're 2. They believe to write what they're saying. But they have to write that we were 3 and one of them is not here. They don't have to write exactly these words, we were 3. If they write that we were a Bezdin also by definition means 3. They don't have to say we were 3. If they wrote that this star came before us, the Bezdin, they don't, and we see that, and it was confirmed, and it's confirmed, that's good, and they only have 2 signatures, that's good, because the word by Bezdin, by definition, means 3. But the Gemara says not necessarily, sometimes a Bezdin could be 2. There's Shmuel says that even though you need 3 for a Bezdin, but 2, b'diavad is also good. They called a mechutzef. They called the Bezdin chatzufim, that they made a Bezdin out of 2, but they're kosher Bezdin. So maybe if that's right that we're a Bezdin, it's not good enough because maybe Bezdin could be 2. That they wrote not that we were a Bezdin, we were a Bezdin of Rav Ashi, and this is as if to say that that for sure means 3. But the Gemara says no. But maybe the Bezdin of Rav Ashi also holds that it's kosher. We're a Bezdin of Rav Ashi. We're a Bezdin of Rav Ashi. Maybe also that Rav Ashi holds that a Bezdin of 3 is good.
2 or 3.
A Bezdin of 2 is good. Thank you. The Gemara says you're right. And Rav Ashi told us to do this. So Rashi, I think, says that the point is that even though it might be kosher, but it's still a Bezdin Chatzah. So Rav Ashi, even if he says that it's kosher, but he wouldn't have done it. So if it means it has to be clear that that it's a Bezdin of 3. So either you say beferish that is 3, or you say words that would imply that for sure we were Bezdin of 3. That Rav Ashi said that's good to do like that. Not that it's kosher, but that it's a right thing to do to make such a kind of a handpick. That means that we must have been a kosher Bezdin lachatchila, which means a Bezdin of 3. The point being that if you had a Bezdin of 3 and one of them died, you have to write in the seal of approval that we were a Bezdin, even though the only 2 signatures, that's right, that they were a Bezdin of 3, or some kind of mashmos that for sure they were 3, even though they don't use the number 3, but they say Bezdin, Chashav, whatever. So that will be also a raya that they were 3. Yashikach, everybody. We'll be continuing in a couple of minutes with Pirkei Avos.
Okay, I'm sorry, I can't stay for the second shir